All right, let's dive into the story of one of the most dominant armored vehicles ever built, the German Leopard 2. For almost half a century, this main battle tank has been more than just a weapon. It's been the gold standard, the benchmark that pretty much everyone else measures their tanks against.
And what you're looking at right here is its latest form, the incredible Leopard 2A7V. But the story of this beast goes all the way back to its introduction in 1979. Since then, it's been constantly upgraded, and it's seen action everywhere from Kosovo and Afghanistan to Syria, and of course, most recently, Ukraine. It's a true veteran of modern warfare, no doubt about it.
Just to give you a sense of its sheer presence on the battlefield, the latest versions weigh in at over 66 tons. That's like stacking 11 adult elephants on a set of tracks. This isn't just a vehicle, it's a mobile fortress, and it was engineered from the ground up to just dominate. And you can't argue with its success. We're talking over 3,600 of these things have been built. It's been adopted by more than a dozen nations, making it one of the most successful and most trusted Western tank designs in history. So where did this legend even come from? Well, its story, like so many great military machines, was forged in the super tense atmosphere of the Cold War. West Germany needed something to replace its first-generation Leopard 1 tank, and they needed it to be a game changer. But oh man, the path to the Leopard 2 was not a straight line. It started with this super ambitious, kind of crazy US-German project called the MBT-70. It had wild features like putting the driver in the turret and a cannon that could fire missiles. But it just got too complex, too expensive, and the whole thing fell apart in 1969. So Germany had to pivot fast. They took what they'd learned, started fresh with new prototypes, and eventually, in 1971, the design was officially named the Leopard 2. And one of my favorite parts of this story is the quirky code names they used. You had the gilded leopard, the Eber, which means boar, the Keiler or tusker, and even a turret design called the Spitzmaus or shrew. It's like a whole zoo of prototypes. And it really shows you just how much trial and error went into finding that perfect killer design. Okay, but before the Leopard 2 could officially enter service, it had to face its toughest test yet. It was sent right into the lion's den onto American soil for a high-stakes showdown with the prototype of its biggest future rival, the M1 Abrams. So here's what happened. Back in '74, West Germany and the US agreed to see if they could standardize parts for their next big tanks. To do this, Germany cooked up a special version called the Leopard 2 AV, the austere version. They basically simplified some of the systems to meet American specs and cost targets. Then they shipped it over to be tested, head-to-head, against the XM1 prototypes. And the results showed this fascinating clash of design philosophies. The Leopard 2 AV was the clear winner in firepower. Its 120mm gun and its fire control system were just better. Plus, its diesel engine was more fuel efficient and had a lower heat signature, making it stealthier. But the American X1 was judged to have better protection, with more of its body covered in that advanced special armor. It was a classic contest, pure firepower versus heavy armor. But the whole thing was surrounded by controversy. The German team was pretty vocal, arguing the tests were basically rigged to favor the American tank. They pointed out that firing trials were done on perfectly flat ground, which totally negated the Leopard's superior gun stabilization system. It was a really contentious affair. So you've got both tanks showing some serious strengths and some weaknesses, and you've got all this controversy swirling around the trials. So what was the final decision? Who won? Well, in the end, the US Army went with its homegrown tank, the XM1 Abrams. No big surprise there. But for the Leopard 2, this was anything but a failure. It had gone toe-to-toe with its American rival on American soil and proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that it was a world-class design, ready to take on anyone. So, armed with all that data and, frankly, a whole lot of prestige from the American trials, Germany was ready to go. They took the lessons they learned, fixed the weaknesses, and locked in the final design for full-scale production. And then the big day came, October 25th, 1979. The very first production Leopard 2 was delivered to the West German Army. The legend was officially born, and it wasn't long before it became the absolute backbone of NATO's armored forces in Europe. At the very heart of the Leopard 2's legendary performance is its engine. The MTU V12 twin-turbo diesel unleashes a mind-boggling 1,500 horsepower. That's what gives this 60-plus ton beast the agility to hit 70 kilometers per hour and literally run circles around its rivals. And really, it was the whole package that made it so special.
Right from the start, it combined that monster engine with the lethal Rheinmetall 120mm smoothbore cannon, advanced composite armor, and a state-of-the-art fire control system. But crucially, they put a huge emphasis on keeping the crew alive. The ammunition was stored in a separate compartment with special blowout panels, so if it got hit, the explosion would be directed outwards, away from the crew. And it had a full NBC protection system, that's nuclear, biological, and chemical, to keep them safe in the absolute worst-case scenarios. But the story doesn't just end in 1979. Not even close. A huge reason for the Leopard 2's incredible longevity is its ability to constantly adapt. Think of it as an ever-evolving predator, always being upgraded to stay one step ahead of new threats on the battlefield. And you can literally see this evolution right here. On the left, you've got the classic Leopard 2A4, the quintessential Cold War version, with that flat-faced turret. Then on the right, you see the 2A5, which introduced this iconic wedge-shaped arrowhead armor. This wasn't just for looks. This radical redesign was a direct answer to new, more powerful anti-tank weapons, and it massively increased the tank's frontal protection. You can see this is basically a constant arms race in action. The A5 adds the arrowhead armor to defeat new missiles. Then, the A6 gets a longer, more powerful cannon to punch through tougher enemy armor. And today, the A7 is packed with the latest digital systems, optics, and armor, making sure this almost 50-year-old design is still at the absolute cutting edge of warfare. So, after all these decades of service, all these upgrades, what is the Leopard 2's legacy? Well, it's pretty simple. It's become nothing less than the global benchmark for what a main battle tank should be. And this isn't just on paper. This tank has proven itself where it counts, in real-world combat. Germany sent it to Kosovo. The Netherlands, Denmark, and Canada used it in the brutal terrain of Afghanistan. Turkey has used it in Syria. And most recently, Ukraine has put the Leopard 2 on the front lines in its defense. It is a thoroughly battle-tested and proven platform. But, even the greatest legends can't go on forever. Its service life is expected to end sometime around 2030. And looking to the future, Germany and France are already working on its replacement, a next-generation project known as the Main Ground Combat System, or MGCS. The Leopard 2 is a true masterpiece of evolutionary design. It's a tank that has adapted and overcome for nearly half a century to stay on top. But the modern battlefield is changing faster than ever, with new threats from advanced missiles to swarms of drones, and that leaves us with one final big question. How long can this legendary predator's reign truly last?